Alright, figured I'd give it about 10 seconds of video recording before getting too distracted. Let's see, I've been back now for a couple weeks, and it's been a couple weeks since the last time I hopped online to stream. Yeah, it's been busy. I've definitely gotten more work done on the car this time. It's a whole different world. Seeing what I'm seeing underneath the carpet. To be honest, like, all of my knowledge is theoretical. So I think we already knew that, but actually getting there and starting to do stuff, and one part at a time, it's actually cooperating, and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to share a few things that I've discovered in the meantime, and a couple wins that we've had while off air. I want to keep it short, just update where I'm at, for you guys, for myself, because honestly, I don't, I never know if I'm going to remember what's coming up, and what I've done and what's next. My goal is to try and recoup some of the money that I've spent trying to get the car ready to go. I'll be honest, it's there's a few things. I mean, I feel like we'll show you what we've gotten out and what we're keeping, and let's get going. So last time, we definitely talked about all this stuff and kind of what I'd like to do. But there always comes the time where you gotta look at what you have and start doing something about it. A little bit of it's been learning. I think I told you guys I picked up a generic OEM turbo. All of that's gonna be stuff down the line. We gotta take it apart first, and then we can put it back together. And I think once it's laid out and we're putting it back together, we can talk about it. But right now, it's just a bunch of chaos and taking stuff apart. So, this is kind of the new table setup. We're in between moves, and we've got a garage, which I've never had. It's super cool to have a garage and to have a space to work, and where it's relatively quiet and you got nice lights, and nice is a relative term. Nobody needs stuff that's super fancy. Unfortunately, we got sun most of the time, so I've been taking advantage of it a little bit. This is the rest of the timing chain cover here. I'll flip you around to the other side. As you can see, I've got some bolts there that weren't there before. Obviously, the ones for the timing chain cover. And then what I've got here is actually the seats out of the WRX. So I've been doing a little bit of deconstructing. These plastic bits cover the back where the belt attaches to the seat down here, and as well where the rails attach to the car. This is the belt side here. That's the seat into the... Actually, that's the rails system. Sorry, down here. There's 4 bolts holding the seats together, and each one has some washers, and it's relatively easy to get to. Obviously, if someone has kids and they've gotten their slobber and grime on bolts and gum and whatnot, then sometimes there are surprises, but really it came out in pretty decent condition. I don't see any major tears. The cloth is still pretty good. It's obviously a little dirty, but all of this is going to get cleaned before it goes back in. This makes it look so much worse than it is, but Maybe it is that bad and I'm just used to the dirt. This also, you can tell, is where the buckles used to be. And so you get like a really big color change between, the dirt or sunwear. I'm not sure which it is. If it's bad enough, to be honest, the cushions are great. Maybe I'll consider just planning for like some seat covers for now and doing the upholstery down the road. I would love to do like cloth with Alcantara or something like that, or I don't know, you could get all sorts of creative, but there's a lot of places locally that do upholstery, and if you're going the extra mile to build a car, then you might as well make the upholstery something unique, right? There's still going to be these WRX seats because they are beautiful. They sit up about 1.5 inches higher on their frame rails than the ones in this car. And so that, in combination with the steering wheel, which is smaller, and it's the Momo steering wheel, should actually let us have a pretty good position. Let's see, we'll go over to this side. We've got the carpet. So the whole carpet is out. The carpet is held together by these really annoying plastic clips. However, despite being annoying, they're really, really nicely punched into the chassis. And so, light's not great, but I'll take my time and show you. So right here, you're going to be able to see kind of the way everything is fed through as far as hard lines go. Whether these are fuel lines, I think they are, or lines for ABS, which I think are outside the car if I remember correctly. What else did they have accessories wise back here? These are going to be for lights. These are the cables. This is the airbag cable. Came from underneath the driver's side seat. I'm not actually quite sure what this one is for, but it was also under the seat. It's not electronically adjusting, so I'm not sure. Maybe it's a seatbelt warning or something like that. I'm not really sure. As you can see, the carpet's all gone. The seat backs for the back, or back seat, are still where they came out of. And then, it's really, really, let's see if the camera adjusts. Not quite. Okay, so, but here you have the end of the ducting for the footwell heating. So it comes right under the seat and into the back, and it's pretty direct, so it's nice to see that that's an improvement they've made in this chassis. We got the e-brake with the safety security module, the handbrake trim. It looks broken. I'm not sure I'm going to reuse it. I think I'm going to stick with the other car, the other car's parts rather. And then got the AC controls all kind of stuck in there because, as you can see by this, they're all clipped into the back of the car. And so while all the radio stuff is free, we couldn't get that out, and so I have a feeling I'll be disconnecting the airbox and taking that out separate. But it is in good condition. Everything's relatively clean. I mean, it's a traditional mechanical mechanism, but the whole lower dash, obviously, you can see now is out. This car has 3 pedals, so it's kind of sad to see it salvaged and out of the system, and who knows what's going to happen to it next. Fortunately, I'll be taking out everything. This is the little Momo steering wheel. It feels like it's a good amount smaller than, there we go, I think we're straight now. It's a good amount smaller than the GF4 Impreza Outback Sport chassis. Let me reactivate that light. I forgot my flashlight in the other car today. We can also come back and see a little more here. As you can see, all of the trim is on this side. So, we have the underseat sub. If I can find a way to get that wired into the other car, I think this would be super cool. You've got the glove box, you've got the trim around the AC and the air vents, which ends up being kind of that transition to the top of the dash. It also had the cup holder and that little plastic trim, which was in really good shape. So, if there's somebody out there who wants to make use of it. And then I was going to say that, the carpet clips in to all of these cool clips and pulls out pretty easy too if you've got, a flathead or a puller tool or something like that. And then, the under seat sub goes right here. That's the connections to it. And then you have the airbag for the front seat, front passenger seat. You've got your e-brake sensor wire. You've got, the nice 5-speed. It's kind of fun to play with it now that it's out of the car. You can hear it shifting well. When it's not connected to anything, obviously, it's a little bit of a strange experience. The air vents for the top time clock actually piece was already taken out and put in a different car, so fortunately I don't get that. All of the clips and wiring for the dash and lights and trim. So it all came out, and then the back seats are just held in place by 2 bolts, one on this side, one on that side, and it just pulls out. So back came out super easy, 4 bolts, 2 clips for each of the seats, and then was removing all of the trim. So starting from the middle, you had the console / e-brake trim. There's a little connecting piece in the middle. There's the one that goes around the shift boot, but then also there's like the side panel that comes all the way down to here. And then you have the dash that goes all the way up, and that's essentially 2 pieces: the trim, the insides, the vents, the radio, which this car did not have, and then there's the lower trim on that side. There's about, I think, 6 or 7 screws on the bottom here. There's probably 6 screws in the glove box just by itself. And then in order to take the dash out now, because it's mostly unwired, I have to take these pillar trims out, which I still don't know how to do. I'll have to figure out, but I assume you start at the top because that's where the seam is, and then you work your way down. Once that's done on both sides, then the trim that's in front of the dash, that's the air vents, that will come off. And then once that's done, you can tackle, I think, the 4 to 6 bolts that connect the rest of the dash. And then the dash will come out. And behind the dash is going to be, the rat's nest of wiring, the AC and coolant box, which I don't know if is coming out. I just don't know what I don't know at this point. I'm not necessarily trying to dismantle the car. I know the idea is nice to keep it and sell, but I don't have an unlimited amount of time to be here and to make those decisions. So I'm trying my best to be efficient. We probably ended up pulling, I don't know, like a good $5 in coins out of here. It'd be really nice if I could keep the seatbelt hardware out of this car, because I do like the snappiness of the actual belt, and there's little things in this car like nice rubber that make a big difference, like these felts that kind of transition. They used to be felt, they just rubber now. And then the rubber itself having as many layers as it does, it's a nice place to be. But there's one piece of trim here, one more here, another here, one that goes up the pillar, and then two more in the front. Those all had to come out. They're all clipped in here, and then they've got the little grommet ones. There's a second one somewhere around here. I think it might have been this one. But all of that's holding down the carpet. So you got to get those out. You got to get the seats out. The middle just kind of drapes over, and then it's the edges again. So the seats hold it down, but then it was adhered to the sound ending somehow. Not sure how. But that had to get yanked, and then obviously now it would be time to go in with like scrapers and stuff. And it's fun to think about, because there's a event called the 24 Hours of Lemons, and it'd be fun to just take this thing in and build it a cage and just be like, all right, it's gonna be loud as hell because there's nothing in here anymore, but it could be a really good time, and it qualifies for that I paid less than $500 for it thing. So it'd be a lot of fun, but that's for another time, I suppose. I mean, what'd be wild is to just do a complete, custom ECU and skip all the other electronics altogether and call it a day, but that's for a different time. So yeah, lots of cool progress, lots of opportunities. Not sure if we're gonna sell stuff off or what. Some of the trim we'll keep. If it fits, that'd be fantastic. If it doesn't, so be it. Let's see, before we get too far, I finally got this guy off. I had purchased the Impact, I don't know, a couple years back probably now, and just never found a use for it until started doing this stuff, and it's kind of built for it. So that helped me get finally the whole crank bolt off and the pulley and all that. And it got me to take the timing cover off. Timing is in line. Pardon me, I'm gonna clean the lens here. Alright, let's see, is this any better? Oh, much better. Okay, so here you have timing for the top. There's a little notch there, and then that's the marker. Kind of hard to see, but someone marked it with a pen. Pretty dead on. The middle one, not so much, but that's apparently expected, or at least that's what they tell me. There's nothing here. other than that to that. This one is supposed to be here. Come on now. That's pretty there. The center notch is here. I actually don't know what direction it's supposed to go in because I don't see anything for it to match to. So that's a little confusing. And then this one's pretty dead on. Not quite in line here, but this one also matches its notch. So once I figure out where this is supposed to be, and there's diagrams all over the place, I'll rotate it to where it's got to be, and then I'm going to try and turn it around and get the flywheel off, because I really need to get it off at this point. I think I can get my... actually, yeah, that works out really well. So I can get this guy in there, and I also now have a breaker bar, which I like to start all of the bolts with, but if I get that out and I can do it while it's still on the stand, then I can finish taking the last few sensors off, tubing, the timing stuff, the cam position sensor, what else? One of these is the oil pump. It's kind of hard to see, but I guess it's that whole assembly that goes from there down to here. But I guess I have to take all the timing stuff off, which the pulleys actually look like they're in good condition. The problem is that, I haven't been able to do a compression test, which I want to do. So I'm going to have to do that manually. And the next thing to do would be taking it apart. So finish taking this stuff apart, take the heads off. I'm going to have the heads looked at. On this side is all the valve stuff. So if I replace the valve train in general, then it'd probably also be with cams and all that. But at this point in time, I just need to get it finished taking apart and sent to the machine shop. They're going to be the ones who decide how much work I'm going to put in after they get everything ready to go again. Or if it's actually bad enough to where I got to consider a new short block or head or whatever. Given it's never blown up, my hope is that it was, just a daily driver until it wasn't. Unfortunately, the fact that it has coilovers that are entirely too low make me feel like this was probably abused. We'll find out. I found all the original paperwork in the glove box, so if the previous owners are still around and have any pictures or stories of their car, then it'd be kind of fun to put some more pictures to this car other than kind of what I'm doing to it. And if things take off, maybe it'll get a second life as a race car, who knows. But for now, that is it's still just a that would be nice type thought. Clearly I've made a little bit of progress over here. So this is passenger side front, and we're looking at the hub without the brake components attached. So here you have the brake line that did a lot of ripping into this, and then I've changed the steering, so now it's just leaking into nothing. Oops. And then this is the ABS sensor that kind of goes and hangs up that way. ABS sensor was attached right there on the hub. It's the same sensor as the other car, I'm told, and the other car may have a more natural ABS system, so I think I'm going to keep the one that's in that car. And then I've put a little bit of what's it called, degreaser, PB blaster, there we go, so I can take off the steering components. The axle nut actually came off really easily with the impact, and it slides very freely as well, so I feel really good about that. I might rebuild the axles. They look like they're in pretty rough shape. The boots are definitely torn. If I can do the same to the steering, I will, but right now it's just the next order of business is getting the knuckle off. So now that the center bolt is done, the two that attach to the strut will have to come off. The one that attaches to the steering, the lower ball joint. And I think that's it. Because I don't believe it attaches to the sway bar end link. So yeah, I think the lower ball joint and upper suspension. And they're really funky. I think the top bolt is a 19 and the bottom is like a 15 or 16. And weird enough, my toolkit doesn't come with both, so I'll have to get creative, or maybe it's actually in inches, who knows. But we'll get there soon. It's off. Obviously, I got a lot of scrubbing to do, or hopefully I can get a wire wheel to get a lot of this rust off. It spins pretty freely. I got the handbrake on now, but I think it's in good shape. But on to brakes. So caliper obviously needs a rebuild, maybe new pistons, I don't know. We're definitely taking it apart, probably gonna color the caliper arms as well, would be great. The pads aren't terrible, but I'm not gonna reuse them, that would be stupid. And obviously the disc is a rusty mess, so we're gonna have to be responsible and get some. I think we're gonna get slotted discs, and if I can rebuild the calipers, great. The dust shields is in fantastic condition, nice and straight. I think we're gonna be going with gold. The chosen accent colors to this thing have been the gold, which is the lower trim on the Outback Sport, and like a maroon red type color. We're gonna go with gold for a majority of everything, and then maybe we'll repaint the wheels. Obviously not the gold ones, but the white ones are kind of starting to look a little rough, so maybe we'll repaint those. Again, these are all kind of down the road and cosmetic things. In other news, the TCU is working. I'm sure the TCU is the same across all 02 to 05 Imprezas, and then in 6-7 I think it was different. The ECU, I got a O2 automatic ECU, and this 05 manual ECU will probably, actually it's an auto. It's a 05 auto, but ECUs I know you can interchange. But there's a very good chance that I'm going to sell that guy off because I've got an O2, and the O2s belong to this car and will probably provide less gremlins electrically because it requires less. But it'll still have all of the features of the newer car. So, yeah, lots of little cool things. I gotta figure out how to get more organized at this point, but we've made it this far, and it feels good. It feels like we're making progress. Got a few other goodies that hopefully will show up soon. We're gonna go with a Mishimoto radiator because the one I pulled out of there is in really bad shape. Found one for cheap, but I decided to go with new stuff where I can. Yes, it's a bit more. Yes, it would have been cheaper going used, but given that this car was already having some cooling issues and some sort of a history where it was trying to overheat, I'm just playing it safe. I'm gonna take a few extra liberties to make sure that it's safe and running well. I think I would hate to put an engine in and then a few months later find out that I skipped something I could have done or should have done, and because I'm doing the work myself, it just is like, okay, I mean, I've got a budget, let's let's see what we can do, and if we can't go any further, then that's it. And then the last part is that this car, the wiring harness that we're pulling out actually is still pretty much complete and belongs to this car. I have a second harness that belongs to an O2 WRX and a second harness that belongs to a GC, which I've sent off to get merged. So if that works out and everything is feasible, then I would probably be able to preserve this wiring harness. And so those are all like little things that determine kind of the future of this project and kind of where we're going. Beyond just getting this car finished, stripped out, and ready for the other car to get done. If this has to sit as a shell for a few months, so be it. But really, at this point, I can't afford the time or energy to think too hard about it beyond it's going to be empty and all the parts I need are going to be kind of laid out here. So my goal is to have everything refreshed and lined up here before the other car is in the garage. The rationale for me there is that if in the meantime I end up having to move, then this car can be sent off and considered complete, or for scrapping, because literally it's gonna have a damaged U subframe and no drivetrain components other than some coilovers, and even those I might take off, and then it's gonna have the 5-speed. So at that point, it very much is gonna need to be sent off and recycled, or given a second opportunity to live a life off the streets. If it gets put back together and turned into a car that's street worthy, that's a different story, but it's not. And um, the U frame is damaged, and it's been in an accident that's bad enough, and a hailstorm. So, given the history, we're not sure that it's worth kind of reviving, especially because it's not in the system anymore. But we'll find out. That's all problems for future me, um, if I can, the all of the subframe kind of chassis drivetrain mounts are going to be recolored in gold. So the diff protection plate, the rear subframe, the transmission subframe, um, you know, it would all be cool to get it all gold. Control arms and brakes, I think I'm gonna go for. Control arms, I may go black. I really haven't decided. It's basically, it all has to come out and get cleaned and unrusty for me to even start thinking about what comes next. Do I gotta replace the bearings in the knuckles while they're out? Who knows? We'll find out soon enough. Um, do I change it out? Do I do something different? Once it's our part and I start cleaning things, those those questions will get asked. But right now it's, if it's all laid out, so this is, right front corner, being taken apart, but set like that. Once the rear one is out, do I place it back there by the diff, and do I do the same on this side, here? That way it's all lined up and kind of visually representing what has to get done next. Um, those are all things that are not far down the road. And now that I've got a little more confidence using the stupid impact, I feel like the taking apart part of it is gonna start happening a bit faster. I'm gonna try and stream. Obviously, this has been a nice long one. Wasn't anticipating that, but I've got a busy day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. The holiday parties and gatherings and projects of not just my own but of the other people who I enjoy doing stuff with. Those things are, it's kind of what this time of year is about, is spending time around people you care about and who treat you well and make opportunities happen. And so I want to try and appreciate them a little bit. So I'll be baking a bunch of mini apple pies here. That's what I made with my family. Tried a new recipe this year, and I'll let you know how it turns out. I'm sure I'll make a separate video. I love streaming. I think it's a lot of fun. I like documenting what I'm doing. I like sharing it with other people. The one thing I think at this point I gotta figure out is, how do I share it? How do I do it in a way that's feasible for everybody else to see? Where are you at? There it is. That was weird. Then I can make other decisions. So I appreciate you coming on the journey with me, and we'll keep you posted. I mean, I'd like to do more live stuff. It's a format that a lot of people do, and a lot of people who are smarter than me, so I get a little nervous about really not knowing what I'm doing here, but I think if I'm fumbling along like this, it's not a bad thing. It's really disgusting in here, by the way. I tried cleaning it, I really did, but apparently I need a pressure washer or something, so That's for next time. All right, that's it. Have a good night.